Hey everybody, it's Lebo with Lebo's Pinball. Hey, I just thought I'd make a short video just to show you what I'm working on today. So this is a Williams Honey. I think this was 1971. The customer asked me to take a look at this game. It had some bugs in it. He couldn't get the game to fully really start up, and it was just, the scoring motor just kept going and going and going. And first thing I did is I took the board. I like to call it the circuit board. Really, it's the board that's down inside the cabinet. Took it out of the game and just so I could get a good look at everything and work on actually cleaning a few items up. It has a couple, maybe there's three. There are stepper units that if you take them apart, clean them up real good, clean the contacts, get them back together, get the spring loaded properly, the unit will ratchet forward and reset correctly, and it was not doing it. It's not uncommon at all for them to get dirty and over a long period of time and need to have just that kind of maintenance, that cleaning to get them to work right again. So I did all that, still had a problem. As it turned out that there was a switch on the ball drain that was stuck. Actually, the contacts where the wires come into it, they were touching each other, and so it had shorted itself out. So the game kept thinking that the ball was draining and couldn't ever totally start up. But got that fixed, and now the game is running. There was also some issues in the with the scoring units in the back where it wasn't going all the way back to zero. Took care of those, and now we're down into what I enjoy the most, and that's going through changing all the bands and then changing the bulbs. And so on these EM games, there's definitely a big preference thing involved if you want to stick with the old incandescent bulbs, which have a nice warm glow to them, not a whole lot of brightness typically, or do you want to switch over to LEDs? And you've got a number of options with LEDs. I like using Comet Pinball's LEDs. I think they've got a really good product, and had good luck with them. And even with their whites, there's a variety, whether you're working with a cool white, or they call it a natural white, or a warm white. And they also have one that's right in between. It's called the Sunlight. And then even with those, you have the variance of whether you're dealing with a frosted bulb, which helps to diffuse the light, especially if you're looking at it straight on. And it also keeps you from having hot spots behind plastics. And when I mean hot spots, it's not the actual temperature hot, but just seeing a focal point of light coming up. It helps to disperse that. Or instead of having frosted, you go with clear, which clear tends to put out a little more light. And I typically like the clear lensed bulbs the most. They just seem to give you the most impressive look. And they also have another thing called bullet bulbs. And a bullet bulb looks a lot like an incandescent bulb in terms of the shape of the glass and the way that the light kind of comes out, but it also has a little bit of a trade-off with brightness. So you've got all these different these bulbs at your available to actually be able to use whenever you're going through and trying to place bulbs in the game. So I kind of mix it up depending on what the look I'm trying to get after. But on these EM games, I don't really want it to make it look like something really kind of crazy and not appropriate for the game. I want to stick with something that is still a warm look. Sometimes I'll go to a Sunlight depending on certain areas, and then there's rare times, but sometimes still, that I actually would use a cool white. But in this case, I've just started here on the Playfield and have only replaced a couple bulbs, and you can see coming through the camera, these are warm whites compared to the incandescent bulbs that are still in here. And I'm getting ready to put in one here, and I just wanted to show you when I'm going about doing that, it's a good opportunity to check all these posts. And a couple of these were loose, and one trick to do when you take the screws out, get a toothpick and some wood glue, stuff it down in the hole, trim it off right at the flush at the Playfield, and let that glue can dry. Or even if you don't want to, if you're in a hurry, you can go ahead and start putting the screw in and it'll be all right. But it helps wedge things down in there and before you go putting the band back on. It's really important that you have all these posts nice and solid, because it's going to be it's going to be supporting this band, and you don't want it to collapse, and you definitely don't want the band to start leaning in towards the switch, because then you're going to have issues with that switch being stuck on contact. And the issues that are with that are, you know, not only is it giving other points or whatever, it's just it can do other weirdness and not cause a game to start right. But now I'm going to put in a bulb. This is a warm white. That's a clear lens. It's what they call their 2SMD, which stands for surface mount diode. But there's 2 LEDs inside this bulb, and you know, of course, it already looks really bright without any of the plastics over it. But I'm going to go ahead and stretch this band on. Oops, get this down here, over. Position, checking that contact. I'm going to fine tune it a little bit later. I think it's pretty good. Now we'll go ahead and place this plastic back on. Get on here. There we go. I'll put the post caps back on. These are an interesting cap that honestly I have not seen before. I mean, it's your metal acorn nut, but you can't see it very well in the video, I'm sure, but like the top of it, I don't think somebody painted it. I think it actually came this way. It's got like a little bubble or whatever you want to call it at the very top, at the purple or whatever, that kind of neat with this game. But anyways, that's it. I just want to show you what that looks like. Now compare that to what you see everywhere else, and you can see the direction it's going to go. So it still has a nice warm look to it, but it's just a little brighter without, you know, overly cool looking color. So now one thing, this whole center area here that I'm going to look into, I haven't decided if I'm going to be able to do anything with this or not, but there's no light socket there. So that was never illuminated, never designed to be illuminated, but it sure looks like it would be nice if it could be. If I can get away with positioning, you know, adding a socket without it getting in the way of the mechanism that's underneath, I might look into doing that, and it could look kind of cool. Another thing that could be done is there are light strips, little LED light strips that could be placed to go add some of that light, but you don't want to be looking at that light directly in your face. And if that's going to be within view from the player's perspective, that ain't going to work too well either. And really, I don't really like doing the light strips on an EM game. It just doesn't seem like it's fitting for this. I like to just stick with the bulbs, and maybe a flex bulb depending on the situation, and that might be what I end up having to do here if I can. Again, I'm gonna have to depend on once I pull the Playfield back up and take a good look at what's underneath here and see what it does. But anyways, just tip of the day, just kind of showing you what's involved, changing out bulbs, making decisions on lights, and focusing on things whenever you're getting into these things. Hope you enjoyed.